Full frame versus micro four thirds. Spoiler alert, it's not even close. I've got a Sony A7C that I love, but the stabilization on it is absolutely atrocious. Micro jitters everywhere. You have to stand still if you want to get a stable shot. If you dare walk, it's going to look like there's a huge earthquake happening with each step. It makes me think that IBIS doesn't even work on this camera. I wanted to get a camera with great video stabilization because I use my cameras for two things. One of them is for my media business where I do videography, video editing, photos. The other being traveling. I want a photo system that is going to be able to be lightweight and it's going to give me good photos and videos. After doing a ton of research, I rediscovered micro four thirds. I'm not new to micro four thirds. I used to have a G8A5 that I loved. It had lightweight, great quality video, but the autofocus was atrocious. I would only use it for stationary shots, get the focus and switch to manual focus, so it wouldn't be constantly pulsing in the background or constantly moving around the focus the whole time. It was just so bad. So when Panasonic came out with the G9 II and the GH7 with finally phase detect autofocus, thank you Panasonic, I said, let me try this again. Because I'm looking at a lot of the videos from the creators who love the G9 II and the micro four thirds. They're saying that the quality is fantastic, the focus is finally good, but I want to test it for myself because I critically think I want to evaluate things on my own. So I bought a G9 II and I tested it for myself. And let me show you what I found so you can figure out if micro four thirds is going to work for you. If you ever wanted to see full frame versus micro four thirds, if you ever wondered if micro four thirds is the system for you, this video is going to work out beautifully for you. Let me start with a simple test, a tough shooting situation. Taking a photo with natural light and the sunlight directly behind a person. It's a tough test for any camera because it showcases the sensor's ability to pull dynamic range. This shooting situation isn't uncommon. In my travels, when I don't take a flash with me, I have to take photos like this. Here's one example. It's a tulip field in Oregon, and we got the sun directly behind my fiance, and I gotta bring up the exposure of her in the front. The Sony camera takes care of it like a champ. Here's another example. Got the sunlight behind the person and in the front, I gotta select them and bring their exposure up. Can I bring that detail back? Will it retain sharpness? Will it bring a lot of noise into it? As you can see, the Sony A7C handles it beautifully. It can do these situations. Now there are limits, of course, you don't wanna take it so far, but in a pinch, like when you're traveling, you wanna pull out your camera and take a quick photo, it works out. I want to replicate something similar for my testing. I go to my balcony and I take a photo with the sun directly behind me. I set the aperture for both cameras to the exact same aperture. I lift the camera up, take the photo, put it down. This test is great to see if it'll do the eye autofocus and if I can pull the dynamic range I need from each of these cameras. I also turn around and have the sun directly in my eyes. Let's look at these photos and compare. I'm in Capture One, and here's the raw full frame photo from the Sony A7C, and here's the raw photo from the G9 II micro four thirds camera. The first thing you notice is the Sony A7C overexposed the background, and with the G9 II, it didn't overexpose the background. I'm gonna go ahead and click auto adjust on both of these photos. Okay, let's go to the Sony A7C. The background's overexposed, so I'm gonna pull that down until my highlights are not clipping as much. Now the face is underexposed. I'm gonna click Subject AI Auto Detection in Capture One. I'm gonna pull that face back up. Something like that. It's not a full editing tutorial, okay? Now let's look at this photo up close. I'm gonna zoom in. You can see, look at the detail in my hair. You can see all these strands. Look at these beautiful white hairs that are coming. Look at my glasses. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyebrow hair. You can see the eyes, the strands. Look at my mustache. Look at these beautiful strands. All of this sharpness that I have in this photo. Maybe it's even too sharp, but I prefer it to be too sharp and then I can pull back the sharpness. When the photo's not sharp enough, you can't bring in sharpness. It's gonna look crappy, but you can dial it down if you have that sharpness, okay? And then look at the more shadowy areas. I'm gonna push the shadows, okay? Even to overexposure. Look, you can see it's all crisp. ISO 100, you don't see any noise in this photo. That's how much detail this photo and this camera has, okay? I'm gonna bring those shadows back down. I feel like this is mostly exposed, okay? Let's go to the Panasonic G9 II. I'm gonna pull down the exposure so we can mostly get rid of the background clipping. Now I'm gonna do the Subject AI Selection, I'm going to pull the exposure up to 1 is what we did on the Sony. It's not enough. I got to push it a little bit more. We don't have as much contrast because the G9 II exposed more for the background compared to the face, whereas the Sony A7C balanced it out. So looking at this photo right away, we see the G9 II missed focus. Okay, look, it's blurry. You don't see the strands in the hair. You don't see my eye in focus. You don't see all that sharpness. It's muddy looking. Okay, we did not get focus. It looks like it may have focused maybe on my shoulders where the light was very bright over here. Aside from the focus thing, let's look at the photo. This is shot at ISO 500 it decided to do. I'm going to pull the shadows up. Pulling the shadows up. And look, you can see the photo has noise in it already. Okay, it's completely not fair because it's ISO 500 versus ISO 100. But you can see from a simple photo where the sun is behind the person, you want to pull the exposure up, it's going to look like this. Of course, you can fix it, play around with it, bring the contrast up, okay? But that's just from adjusting 2-3 settings. Look at the photo on the Sony A7C. Just adjusting 3 settings, and then we can do further adjustments. Here it is side by side. Sony A7C on the left, G9 II on the right. Double click over here, double click over here. Check them both out, and you make your own decision on the quality of these two camera systems in these type of environments where you're traveling around. You got the sun behind the person, you want to take a picture of them. Is the focus going to work for you? Is the exposure going to work for you? Is the dynamic range going to work for you? Is the grain going to work for you? The noise, is it going to work for you? You make that choice. Here's the shots of when I had the cameras facing towards me with the sunlight in front of me, a situation where you will achieve maximum sharpness, super bright, hard light of the sun. Best case scenario to really test these cameras out. So on the left side, we have the Sony A7C. Look at the sharpness of all the hairs on my face, of my eye. You can see all the clarity, all of the quality. It got the eye autofocus on my eye perfectly. We're at f8, 200 of a second, and it just looks so crispy and wonderful quality. And now we can look at the Lumix shot on the right. After I took this photo and put it in my camera, I actually thought to myself, is there something wrong with the G9 II? Is my lens dirty or something? Or did I not do the right settings? I went through the settings and I double checked everything, highest quality raw, wiped down the lens, came back out, took the shot again. And this is what the Lumix is giving me. And you can see it's muddier. You don't get as crisp hairs. The screen was showing the box over my face with the crosshair on my eye. I believe it got the eye out of focus, but you can definitely see it's just not as sharp. We're at f8, same as the Sony lens, 640th a second, 500 ISO. It's not there. It's, I mean, look with your own eyes. You make your own decision. Look with your own eyes. Look at these photos left and right, and you tell me which one is of quality. Here it is in Lightroom, because I know different RAW processors can process photos differently. It can affect sharpness. So I wanted to check it in Lightroom too. So on the left, Sony A7C, on the right, G9 II. I'm going to zoom in. The RAW processing is better on Lightroom for Panasonic RAW photos. I can see it is a little sharper, but it is still not at that level. If you look at the hairs on my head over here, there's more visual clarity. There's more strands. You can see on the right here, it still looks a little blurry. It's better on the face where it focused properly, but you can still see the Sony is sharper. You can see the hairs on my mustache. You can see so many more strands on the right here. It's actually, it looks like it's a touch out of focus or not even clear. Even the edge of my face, look at all the hairs here on the edges. I can definitely still say that the Sony is crisper and sharper compared to the G9 II. I just took this photo, and this photo is in focus. See, you can see a lot more sharpness in my mustache hairs, in my eye. I don't think that this photo is actually in focus because I did the eye out of focus and it clearly focused on my eyeglasses. You can see that is very sharp on my eyeglasses. You can see that it's sharper on the edge here on my nose compared to the edges of my face. And this is at f2. And here's my opinion and my overall ethos about taking a bigger camera like this and buying lenses for it and taking photos and then have to transfer the computer and then having to edit them every single time with raw photos. If I'm going to take that step to do that, then I want the highest quality possible. I understood that's not going to have as much bokeh in the background. I understood the dynamic range isn't going to be as bad. I understood it may have more noise that I may have to reduce. But what I understood from Panasonic, what I understood from researching this camera, the autofocus is good to go. The photo and video quality is good to go. And in my testings, it's just not there. If I'm gonna take this camera, I want the best quality possible. The Sony A7C full frame is gonna deliver that. The Micro Four Thirds in 2025 and beyond, it's not there. With the autofocus, it's not there. With the noise, it's not there. With the dynamic range. With Micro Four Thirds and the G9 II specifically and the GH7, I loved using the body of this, the body with all the buttons. Man, the Sony A7C is so small. It's so nice to have a bigger body again. You got all these buttons. You got the wide balance ISO. You got the knob on the back. You have so many buttons. You got a touch screen too. It's just a joy to use this body. This body is wonderful. Speaking of the body, one of the features of Micro Four Thirds that a lot of people talk about is it's smaller. And in my testing, no, it's not. When you compare the Sony A7C to this camera, even if you compare the Sony A7 IV, the bigger brother of the A7C, those cameras are actually smaller than this Micro Four Thirds. Maybe it used to be that Micro Four Thirds bodies were smaller and lighter, but this body isn't. The full frame cameras are smaller, but the lenses for the Micro Four Thirds are smaller and lighter. When I compare the Leica 9mm f1.7 to the Sony 20mm 1.8, it's obviously bigger, larger, and heavier. But once you put that lens on the Sony A7C and you have the lens on the G9 II, the A7C is still lighter. It's a little more front-loaded and a little heavier towards the front, so the balance isn't as good, but the A7C is still lighter than this setup. But a pro of the Micro Four Thirds is the lenses are less expensive. I didn't cheap out. I got a Leica lens for the Micro Four Thirds system, and this lens, I got it for $390 used. And the 20mm is, you know, $800 plus used. Maybe you can get it for $670, $650. When the lenses are similar, yes, they're going to be smaller and lighter on the Micro Four Thirds, but it's not like full frame doesn't have lighter lenses. I have a 24mm f2.8, which gets more light on the sensor compared to this f1.7. Look how compact it is. Now it's actually physically smaller compared to the 20mm. It's not the same field of view, but you can be more compact than a Micro Four Thirds system, and you can keep it light with full frame. But the features on this G9 II are really amazing. For video quality, it's 90% similar to full frame. When we're talking about photography, you want that sharpness, you want that crispness with the photo. But for video, you don't need as much sharpness. And when I'm looking at the video files, the Sony A7C compared to the G9 II, it's very obvious that they're 90% similar. So if you're just going to use the G9 II or Micro Four Thirds just as a video-centric thing, then it's going to work out beautifully for you. But if you need it to be dual-purpose photo video, the photo and the focusing for the photography is not there. Well, the reason why I got the Micro Four Thirds I want to try is because of the stabilization, and yes, it is that good. It has multiple modes of stabilization. One of them looks very natural, but keeps all the micro jitters out. And then the other one is the high mode, where you can be walking with it and it's as if you're using a tripod. I loved that, and it would be perfect for traveling if you're just gonna focus on video. It's amazing. Like, get this camera, it's so good. I love the stabilization. I tested out myself. The stabilization is so good. And then you have this feature called Open Gate, where most cameras, when they record the video, they're cropping in to fit that 16:9 ratio for video. They're not using the whole sensor, but with Open Gate, you're using the full sensor, and you can get 4:3 or 3:2. I think it's 4:3 on Micro Four Thirds, 3:2 on full frame, and you get that full quality, and then you can adjust it in post to be 16:9, and then you have more vertical space to move up or down. It's actually really cool, and I like the look of the Open Gate, and I love that ratio. Panasonic has it on the G9 II, GH7, and their full frame cameras, S5 II, and the new SR1 IIs, or whatever those new ones are. They all have it, and it's awesome. And the file sizes are not ginormous. You can choose MP4 Lite, 50 Mbps, which is perfectly fine for you. It's overkill for YouTube, and you still have Open Gate. So I love that, and I love that feature about this camera. The video features on this camera, the handling, the feel of it is wonderful. The quality of the video is fantastic. So it is a wonderful system, but when it comes down to it, for me, the photo quality and the focusing for photoing, because I want it to be a hybrid camera, G9 II is not going to work for me, and full frame, you know, still kicks its butt when it comes to photography. And that's it for full frame versus Micro Four Thirds. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think of these photo comparisons? What did you think of the video quality comparisons? What are your thoughts on this? Don't take my word for it. Look at the photos and then go look at comparisons between full frame, Micro Four Thirds, and make up your own mind, okay? You want to challenge me? Go ahead and challenge me in the comments. Tell me, no, it's still just as good, blah, 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 blah. You just go. I don't mind. I'll take the heat. But I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the same as full frame, because it simply is not. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this helped out.